All right, today we're talking about a major funding shortfall in Harris County's 2018 flood bond. Voters approved $2.5 billion for flood control after Hurricane Harvey, but now the county faces a $1.15 billion gap, putting dozens of projects at risk. So to break this down for us and what it means for local neighborhoods and why some areas may be left behind is Harris County Commissioner Tom Ramsey. He represents Precinct 3. Commissioner, welcome to Hello Houston. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Good to be with y'all.
Thank you.
Hi, Commissioner Ramsey. So I want to make sure our listeners understand Precinct 3 is responsible for maintaining approximately 47% of all incorporated Harris County. And that's the largest precinct of all county commissioners. And to get a perspective, we're looking at going from Crosby, Atascocita, Spring, Cypress down to Hunter's Creek. So flooding, I would imagine, is top of mind for the majority of these areas.
Oh, it is. It really is. It's 75% of the unincorporated area is in Precinct 3. And over 80% of the water coming into Harris County comes through Precinct 3. We're in the northern portion of the county. So nearly everything is downstream from us. So it's important, I think, you understand the geography, how the precincts are laid out. Mm-hmm. And there is more people that live in the unincorporated area of Harris County than live in the incorporated area of Harris County.
So this bond that we passed right after Harvey, help me get some perspective on it. $2.5 billion for flood control projects, and now we're facing a $1.15 billion gap. Now, does that mean that $2.5 billion is still there, making interest, or it's gone down 1.1 and we don't know where the money is, or we just need another billion?
I think we have done. Let me try to go through some numbers.
Okay.
And again, for 45 years, I've served as an engineer in the Harris County area. Mm-hmm. So I've worked on a lot of different projects. Some of them are flood mitigation. So the bottom line is we voted on a bond in 2018, and that was $2.5 billion.
Okay.
We got busy and went out and found another $2.7 billion in matching funds for a total of $5.2 billion. So really the program is a $5.2 billion flood mitigation program. So when you look at the details related to what that means, I just started at the 181 projects that we approved in 2018 and did a timeline. The information that has been produced by flood control has been so confusing, and I'm an engineer with some level of experience, and it's difficult for me to get at answers. So I started at 2018 at Commissioner's Court yesterday. I took it from 2018 to today in terms of laying out how the money's been spent. Roughly 1.4 million has already been built. Projects are on the ground. Precinct 1 has got the most number of those projects. And so when you look at conversations in court about where the money's being spent, just for your information, Precinct 1 has gotten the most. The other three precincts are about the same. So when you look at we've already invested, I'll say, roughly $1.5 billion of the bond in projects already built. That leaves roughly $1 billion in bond money to go and do the rest of the projects and include matching dollars with federal money we've gotten, state money we've gotten, even partnerships with the city of Houston. So when I went through that, we made the decision, Commissioner's Court did, I voted against it at the meeting two weeks ago, to prioritize all projects in quartile 1 based on a formula. We did not vote on a formula in 2018. Well, we voted to do 181 projects, and the formula, which I can get into great detail, but I'll pause here if you got a question.
I do. Commissioner, Rodney Ellis has said that the intent of the bond and the formula that you're talking about was on a worst first basis. And so you have pushed back. Obviously, you're saying that you don't agree with this formula and that it's flawed. Elaborate, because I think a lot of people would say, of course, the worst to first basis, it sounds, I would say, equitable.
Yes, I would agree with you. It doesn't do that. It's not worst first. If you say that we developed this perfect formula that clearly requires that the worst flooding, the underserved neighborhoods should be addressed first, I totally support that. I could probably write such a formula. But I'm telling you, that's not what this formula is doing. This formula is designed to move projects from one precinct to another precinct. Because I always like to do a test of a formula. And when I tested this formula to the underserved neighborhood, we'll pick one in precinct 3. Let's go to Barrett Station, a clearly one of the most historic Black communities, an underserved community in Harris County. And that neighborhood, according to the formula, is in quartile 3, which I can tell you it makes no sense. It should be done based on what we voted on in 2018. And if you go down and look at the 181 projects individually, go through those, this formula does not accomplish what it is said to in terms of fairly distributing the projects according to not only addressing underserved neighborhoods, but actually houses that have flooding in it.
So how many of the 181 projects have actually been completed?
That's a good question. It's roughly, I would think ballpark 41 to 45 or so.
Okay, so about a quarter of them? About a quarter
About
of them?
a quarter of them.
And,
Yeah.
and so
And
to get this number right, of 5.2 billion, we've spent about 1.5. Is that right? Or is it of the 2.5, we spent 1.5? I'm trying to find out what this shortfall is all about.
Of the 5.2, we've done roughly 1.5.
So how do we how do we have a gap of 1.15 billion? It would sound like we have a huge surplus left.
All right, well, let me do the math there. Let me get to the point of what we voted on. We voted on quartile 1. So if you do all the quartile 1 projects, and that's totaling over $600 million. So if you do all the quartile 1 projects, it's going to be about 600 million. If you go ahead and set aside a contingency of 197 million, then you add into that, we voted yesterday to go ahead and fund all the matching projects. This would be FEMA money, and that's over $600 million of matching dollars that if we would contribute 200 million, we would get there. But as you add all those numbers up and you do the quartile 1 projects, you do your CDBG, your partnerships with the city of Houston. The example I gave yesterday in court is the gates on Lake Houston. You do those projects, those commitments that we've already made, then you're going to have roughly $700 million left to do quartile 2, 3, and 4.
I see.
If you look at what quartiles 2, 3, and 4 are going to cost, that's where the $1 billion comes in. We don't have that much money to do all of quartile 2, 3, and 4.
Now, Commissioner Ramsey, I understand that we are really in the weeds of this. And for many that are not in every commissioner's meeting and sitting there and understanding all of the fine print and the things that are going in, what do you think people need to understand about this bond? And what can people in Precinct 3 and other precincts that are concerned about flooding as we head into hurricane season need to understand when they're looking at our commissioners, and they're saying, what is happening? We understand we're talking billions of dollars here. And, it seems a little bit like
where's the money? Who's holding on to the money, for one thing? Because it should be making a lot of interest.
I think of course, you don't sell the bonds until you need the money. So the bonds are there. When you sell the bonds, then you can then you can start again. You have to pay interest once you sell the bonds. But I think the detail and the confusing part is we started with a very clear bond issue that was passed 80%. And what I'm trying to do is list those projects that we voted on and kind of track those and do it by precinct, do it by quartile. If that is the direction, which apparently that's what the court wants to do, by quartile, then I think we can better communicate what we've done. I don't think we've done a very good job, to y'all's point, of communicating with the public in a very transparent manner. We voted on something in 2018. Simply tell me the status of those projects and do it in a way that we can understand which ones are going to be built and where are they going to be built.
All right, we're speaking with Harris County Commissioner Tom Ramsey. If you have a question, 713-440-8870. So I guess the question is that we just talked about, of 181 projects, 41 to 45 have been done. Why so few in 7 years? Is it manpower, or is it approval, or is it money, or is it all of that?
I think it's, if you look back, we lost 2 years because of George P. Bush. When he was commissioner, he didn't initially think anything should be given to Harris County because of Hurricane Harvey, which was ridiculous. That was fortunately changed, but because he didn't initially approve it, it took us 2 years to go back through HUD and get those details worked out, which we've done. The GLO and Don Buckingham has done a really good job of working with the county to get those projects and get them queued up. There's been approvals, permitting. Fish and Wildlife has cost us a couple of years in many projects in terms of getting regulatory approvals. So some of it is a part of it, but some of it is, I don't think we've prioritized in getting projects out to bid like we should. And I should be able to come onto this show and say, out of the 181 projects, we've already done 41. We're going to bid another 40 in 12 months, and then we're going to do the remainder in 2 years. There should be that level of specificity. And right now, we are not able to do that. But give me another month and we will.
Well, that's a question on YouTube. Someone says, for the commissioner, what needs to happen to get this on track?
I think we're simply going to have to take the numbers. I was frustrated with not getting information out of flood control. So I simply got Precinct 3. We got our engineers. We started doing the math. And that's why I presented a PowerPoint overview in court yesterday to give those level of details. But I'm working on giving more information related to what projects are out there and when they are going to be built. The important thing that happened yesterday was we told the federal government, we told the state, and we told our local partners like the city of Houston that we were going to honor those agreements. And when we said we were going to match funds, we're going to do that. The court approved it. So at least that part of it we got and moving forward on.
Again, you're listening to Hello Houston. We are talking to Precinct 3 County Commissioner Tom Ramsey.
We want to bring up this too, and I totally agree with you on this. I'll just put it out there right now. This was a taxpayer-funded 3-day conference trip for a Harris County employee that was too much for you. The money that was requested was $8,120 to go to a 3-day conference in San Francisco, and you felt like that price tag was way out of control, and you were the only one that thought that. I agree with you, and I will tell you, I looked at that conference. The fee is under $1,000 for a public employee. Airfare first class on United, 1.5, so $1,500. The hotel at the Marriott Marquis, another $1,500, and that leaves $1,000 to Uber and have meals on, and that would take you to $5,000. So it makes me, if you're not a public sector employee, it's about 3,000 rather than 1,000 to go. It almost makes it look like this employee wants to take in the 3,000 and only spend the one and do something else with the two. It's very suspicious that you could go to San Francisco for 3.5 days on $5,000, but you need 8.
Well, when you're $270 million over budget, as we forecast going into next year, that requires that we all do as good a job as we can, not only deciding on what we're going to go, what conferences we go to, but what money you spend. And if you say, well, I really just was issuing a conservative budget on what I was going to spend, it may not be that much, but I wanted to ask for more than I needed. No, that's really not how we should be operating.
Well, I understand that, but
ask for what you need.
But Commissioner Ramsey, you were the only one that thought this was extremely outlandish. If it was so outlandish, why didn't other commissioners step up to this? Why were you the only one? And also, I want to piggyback onto that and ask you, it was for an urban land
It's a real estate
conference.
conference. It's a real estate conference.
So talk to us about that. Why were you the only one out of everybody to speak up?
Well, we're in a budget crisis. I'm not overstating. I think we've got a hard job and just hard decisions to make going forward on what we're going to do or not do as we try to get ourselves within budget. That's one thing. Conferences, I don't have a problem with a conference, but it ought to be relevant and pertinent. This particular one, in my opinion, was not relevant or pertinent. If you're going to go deal with the Corps in Washington, if you're going to go deal with another agency, Fish and Wildlife or other, to try to get projects moving, to me, it's all hands on deck. We've got a bond issue that we need to try to do the best we can. We don't need to be going to general conferences in San Francisco that has very little to do with the priorities of Harris County Flood Control District.
So you are against going at all as opposed to going for a more reasonable price?
I'm not opposed to conferences, but this was not relevant or pertinent considering the huge priorities that we've got on flooding.
So, Commissioner Ramsey, then who gets to decide what is relevant and pertinent to Harris County and when commissioners should go or not go to a conference?
Well, when a commissioner?
Well, if you want to look at this was a department director. So when you're doing out of town travel, you bring it to Commissioners Court. And I think our job as commissioners is to look at that and say, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. Or to say, no, I really don't think that would be appropriate, particularly in the context of where we are now. So that's a pretty simple process, pretty common sense. You bring it to court. But I actually read the agenda and I read what's been submitted. Too much of what's approved is just, well, if you want to go, you go, and leave it up to, I guess, the discretion of the department heads to go where they want to. I think this was set up so you bring these things to Commissioners Court, we review it, make decisions. I have no idea why that was approved yesterday. It just makes no sense.
I agree with you, actually. But is this common that we're getting these trips brought up and you're pushing back, or is this a one-off?
Well, I mean, the one that's got great coverage or a lot of coverage recently was the county judge going to Paris,
right? And
the need for that, and we talked about this and that, but I think anytime you do travel, I've somehow been able to figure out how to do all my continuing education required or all the conferences I need within the context of Texas. I'm not saying that going to Washington on occasion wouldn't be necessary or other areas, but I think as elected officials, we have to be careful on where we go and for what reason.
We did get a text from a comment from our YouTube who says, do they not trust the judgment of the flood control director?
I would say we trust the flood control director on making decisions. I would tell you on travel, out of town travel. We have a policy that you bring that to court. That's not a matter of trust. That's the protocol, and that's the policy. I think it's not a bad one. You're communicating with the court that you're going to do something a little out of the ordinary. You're going to travel and you're going to get some education, and communicating with the court's not a bad thing. I think transparency is good. I think it's good for commissioners. I think it's good for court members. I think it's good for Harris County Flood Control directors.
Well, it's been nice talking to you. I've never met you, but I appreciate your getting out there and fighting what you believe in. That's what's important.
Well, I've watched you for years, and I appreciate you helping us through some storms. As you know, I talk to Jeff Linder often, having been through Alicia and Allison and Ike and Harvey and Beryl last year. But I appreciate what y'all do as well.
We're all in this together.
Harris County Commissioner Tom Ramsey represents Precinct 3. Commissioner Ramsey, thank you for joining us today.
Sure.